Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a case that started with a pretty straightforward idea, fixing Delhi's liquor sales, but has spiraled into something else entirely, ending with the city's chief minister trying to run the government from a jail cell. This is the story of the Delhi liquor case. So what is this case really about? At its heart, you've got two completely different stories. Was this a bold, much-needed policy reform to fix a broken system? Or was it a carefully planned criminal conspiracy designed to secretly fund an election campaign? To really get to the bottom of it, we have to understand both sides, and that starts with the policy itself. All right, let's start with the official story, the policy. To understand why this all became so controversial, we need to rewind to 2021 and look at why Delhi's government felt its entire system for selling liquor was so fundamentally broken that it needed to be torn down and rebuilt from scratch. You see, the old system was just bleeding money. It was easy for shop owners to underreport their sales, which meant massive tax evasion. A so-called liquor mafia pretty much had a stranglehold on the market. And on top of that, with really high prices and 23 dry days every year, people were just driving over to nearby cities like Gurgaon to buy alcohol, taking all that potential tax revenue with them. The government's argument was simple. This just isn't working. So, to fix all of this, they rolled out what they called a game-changing new policy. The plan was pretty radical. First, the government would get out of the liquor business completely. All shops would be private. Instead of just paying a set license fee, they'd auction off entire zones to the highest bidder. They also mandated much nicer air-conditioned stores, allowed for things like home delivery and discounts, and they slashed the number of dry days all the way down from 23 to just 3. The whole point was to give customers a better experience and, in turn, make a lot more money for the state. And when I say a lot more money, I mean it. The government was projecting this massive windfall, a jump all the way up to 8,000 crore rupees a year. But here's the thing. That's not what happened. Not even close. Instead of a boom, it was a total bust. The revenue they were counting on just never showed up. And that spectacular failure was the first huge red flag that something was very wrong here. And this is where the official story just completely falls apart and a whole new narrative begins. According to investigators, this failed policy wasn't some unfortunate miscalculation. It was the entire point. The charge sheets from agencies like the CBI and the ED allege that this was never really about reform. It was about a deal. So, according to the investigators, you've got three main groups in this whole alleged scheme. On one side, you have the policymakers, the top leadership of Delhi's ruling Aam Aadmi Party. On the other, a really powerful cartel of politicians and liquor businessmen from South India, which the agencies have called the South Group. And connecting them, a group of middlemen who are allegedly tasked with making the whole deal happen. The core allegation, the very heart of the investigators' case, is that this entire complex liquor policy was basically reverse engineered to hit one specific target, a 100 crore rupee kickback. That's about $12 million. And this money, they allege, was specifically needed to fund the Aam Aadmi Party's upcoming election campaigns in Goa and Punjab. Okay, so you're probably wondering, how on earth do you design a public policy to secretly generate a kickback? Well, investigators claim the entire scheme hinged on one single incredibly important number. In the first drafts of the policy, the profit margin for liquor wholesalers was set at 5%. But then somewhere between that early draft and the final version that went to the cabinet, that number, it just mysteriously more than doubled to 12%. Investigators claim this wasn't an accident. They say this crucial change was made quietly with no official paper trail, specifically to benefit that South Group cartel. And there it is. That's the alleged quid pro quo, the this for that. The deal was supposedly simple. The government would guarantee the South Group an enormous 12% profit margin. In return for that favor, the group would secretly kick back half of it, a 6% margin, directly to the Aam Aadmi Party as an illegal payment. And that 6% just so happened to add up to, you guessed it, 100 crore rupees. Right, so making an accusation like that is one thing, but you got to prove it. And to do that, you have to follow the money. So if this 100 crore kickback really happened, where did it go? Well, the Enforcement Directorate, the ED, claims it has managed to trace a big part of that trail. So according to the ED's charge sheet, out of that total 100 crore kickback, they have actually traced a money trail of about 45 crore rupees, that's over $5 million, being funneled directly into the Aam Aadmi Party's election campaign down in the state of Goa. Now here's how they allegedly moved all that cash without leaving a paper trail. The money supposedly never went anywhere near a bank. Instead, investigators claim it was all moved using the Engadia network. This is a really old, informal courier system based on trust that operates completely outside of the formal banking world. Cash would be dropped off with agents in Delhi, a secret code would be sent down to Goa, and then campaign workers would use that code to pick up the actual physical cash. It's a way to keep the whole transaction completely off the books. Okay, so you've got the theory, you've got the alleged money trail, but to make bombshell claims like these actually stick in a court of law, you need more. You need hard evidence. So let's take a look at what the investigating agencies have actually presented. It's really like they're building a mosaic piece by piece. They claim they have CCTV footage that shows a member of the South Group photocopying the secret policy draft in a hotel room days before it was made public. They have witness statements from government officials and even from some of the alleged co-conspirators who've turned approver. And then there's the digital evidence, everything from a FaceTime call where the chief minister allegedly vouched for his middleman to recovered chats where people were discussing policy details that should have been top secret. And if that wasn't enough, there's the whole alleged cover-up. I mean, get this. Investigators claim that as they started closing in, 36 different people involved in this case systematically destroyed a staggering 170 mobile phones. The agencies are arguing this wasn't a coincidence, it was a coordinated attempt to wipe the digital trail clean. All of this led to a fallout that was, slow at first, but then just picked up steam and became relentless. It all started pretty quietly in July 2022 with just an internal report. But by August, the big federal agencies were on the case. And then the arrests started, climbing higher and higher up the party ladder. In February 2023, the deputy chief minister was arrested. In October, a member of parliament. And then the big one. In March 2024, in a move that no one had ever seen before, the sitting chief minister of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, was arrested. And that final arrest, well, that's what really blew this whole thing wide open. This isn't just a corruption probe anymore. It's a full-blown constitutional crisis. It's become a huge political firestorm, blurring the lines between policymaking and crime. And it's raising a question that, honestly, India has never really had to deal with before. Can a democratically elected leader actually govern a capital city from inside a jail cell? As this all plays out in the courts, the final verdict on both the policy and the politicians is still very much unwritten.